If you do that, then wallahi, by the time you finish, the way you started and the way you ended in that sitting will be different. This Quran, nothing is like it. Nothing is timeless.
Yes.
It affects every single person that comes into contact. But there's a condition. The condition is you must be searching for the truth. The dunya, everything seems confusing.
Yeah.
But the quicker a person understands that in the akhirah everything will be clear, the better it will be for him.
Alles heeft een doel en niets is doelloos ontstaan. Vanuit dit idee kwam Purpose tot leven. Door middel van dit merk brengen zij de positieve boodschap van de islam op een subtiele manier over, zodat mensen geïnspireerd raken om een bewust en gefocust leven te leiden. Check hun op de socials hieronder. Deze podcast is gesponsord door Vloeren Decor Zutphen. Zoals je kunt zien hebben ze deze ontzettend mooie laminaat voor ons gezet. Het is van zeer hoge kwaliteit en ze zijn een zeer betrouwbare partner. Check hun op de socials hieronder. Because I've been doing some research, looking up Jamal Abdel Nasser, and that's what I want to say. I keep seeing
Quran stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's up with that?
Wallahi, the Quran is the greatest thing, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm going to get an opportunity to speak, it's going to be about the greatest thing. Quran. Nothing like it.
Because you've specialized in the Quran.
I wouldn't say that.
You want to say that?
I would not say that. I don't think I'm even near that. Specializing is a big word.
It is.
No, I haven't specialized. I'm studying the Quran. I have been studying it. I'm still studying it. I'm teaching the Quran also. Specialize? No.
Okay.
Not at all.
You know, there's this thing, because I'm obviously also Somali.
Yeah.
And there's, by the way, now I'm 27. I started my journey with the Quran, I think when I was like 16, 17.
Yeah.
And something I noticed, I don't know if you noticed as well, is concerning putting a focus on the Quran. When I was with other people, like maybe like other ethnicities, I noticed that my mindset was more focused towards the Quran because that was something I was brought up with. And when I was with others, let's say when I started practicing, I was like, okay, I need to memorize the Quran. For some reason, that was the first thing that came up in my mind.
Yeah.
But I noticed that other people that were in my classes, they didn't have that same mindset. Would you think that's something a community does instill?
Definitely, it has some relationship with the communities, the household, the family, the country you're from. La shak. Whilst every country and every background, every community has khair within them,
of course,
some communities are stronger in some areas than others. The Somali community are known for Quran.
صح.
And they're not the only ones. The Moroccan community are known for the Quran as well.
Sure.
There are some communities that are known for the Quran.
Sure.
When we say that, we don't mean that other communities are not known, but they may have other strengths.
Yeah.
Like the people of Pakistan and India, they're known for Quran, but they're known for Hadith specifically.
Yeah.
Hadith is their thing. Mauritania, they're known for Hadith. They're known for fiqh as well.
صح.
So it depends. So the people of Somalia, la shak, they're people of Quran. So naturally from a young age, we go to Duksi,
صح.
we go to madrasa. Memorizing Quran is a big thing. Even in Somalia, it was a big thing before the time of our parents, our grandparents, that a child would not go to school except after they memorize Quran. You have to memorize Quran first.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
I heard that. But I found it very strange the first time when I heard that, they said that to me, and I was like, what?
That's a bit strong.
It's because I got that secular mindset deep inside me. So I'm like, yeah, wait, Quran first? And then, so obviously that's going to change the way you look at the whole education, the whole, I remember when I was young, my mom was watching this lecture, and I saw all these books, behind the sheikh. And I still remember that I asked this question. I was like, what's all those books? What is it? What's that? Isn't there only one book?
The Quran, yeah.
Well, obviously, there's more
so
sciences.
Much, yeah, for sure.
But you did choose to no, I don't want to say the word special, but you just, if you could say Islam as sciences.
Yeah. Take the path of the Quran. That's a better way to put it. Take the path of the Quran, for sure. طبعا, if you want to learn the Sharia and you're not grounded in the Quran, you're going to have a hard time.
صح.
Last night I was delivering a lecture in a masjid, and one brother was telling me he's memorizing a specific text. So I said to him, that's amazing. But then I asked him, are you memorizing the Quran? He said, no. What's the point in memorizing text?
So he's memorizing mutun like this, it's like a matan.
The matan is a poem. But the thing is, it's khair.
Yeah.
It's Islamic. But at the end of the day, the author who wrote this matan is makhluq like you.
Exactly.
He's an imam.
Yeah.
He's an alim. ولكنه مخلوق. كلام الخالق, the kalam of Allah, the Rabbul Alameen, is not with you. You have a shortcoming. You're meant to go to the speech of Allah first, and then you're meant to memorize everything after. And when you look at the biographies of all of the scholars of the past, the first thing that you will see is وَكَانَ حَافِظًا لِلْقُرْآنِ, the first thing, before anything else.
Yeah.
The scholars, they say there's a qa'idah that they say the one who is having daya' with the Quran, he's wasted in the Quran, he doesn't benefit from the Quran, he doesn't have any good efforts with the Quran, he's going to have no efforts in other things as well. So if the Quran is a way to see the person, if they are a person who is very studious or serious or wanting to learn, if the Quran, they have weaknesses and they have gaps, most likely they're not going to flourish in other places, most likely.
I've seen this thing. I was memorizing the Quran for a while with a Moroccan sheikh, and I remember like he would do these things where he would like he would start classes at weird times, like he would start classes at 4 a.m. Like it's before Fajr. Before Fajr time. And we had some people that came in and they were let's say arguing with the teacher about specific things, focused on subjects that weren't that important. But at the same time, his etiquette with the Quran was lacking. Let's say he was not studious concerning the Quran. And my teacher would say things like, when I was private, he would say like, to be honest, he's not gonna get anywhere. That person with the attitude he has, he's not gonna get anywhere. And obviously in the end that is what I saw. So what is this link with like someone's attitude with the Quran and his road to knowledge?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us this in the Quran. If you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant you openings, and if you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to open doors for you, the Quran is what opens doors. The Quran is what gives you openings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ يَهْدِي لِلَّتِي هِيَ أَقْوَمُ وَيُبَشِّرُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ الَّذِينَ يَعْمَلُونَ الصَّالِحَاتِ أَنَّ لَهُمْ أَجْرًا كَبِيرًا. This Quran, it guides to the most upright and the most great and the most perfect of your affairs, worldly and religious. Because the Quran didn't say it guides to the best of your affairs religiously. It said it guides to the best of your affairs. So if you want Allah to open up for you your career and your wealth and your health and your family and your finances and everything that you're doing in life, فَعَلَيْكَ بِالْقُرْآنِ, upon you is the Quran. And the people who have held the Quran in their right hand and they become committed to this book, they're the ones who have seen it. Because if you are outside of a paradigm, you are outside of a group of people, you are outside of a particular understanding, you have no idea. It sounds foreign to you. It doesn't make sense. It's alien. Quran gives me rizq, how? Quran is going to give me a good family, how? Because Quran is a book. It's a book, but it's the book of Allah. That's why. But if you take the Quran seriously and you are a person who has yaqeen that Allah will promise something and Allah will grant you what He promises, you will see that Allah will give it to you.
Something I've noticed is also with when I was memorizing myself is once I was doing some revision, so I had to recite this surah or some like a section of ayat for I had to repeat it a long time, and after a while it was so strange for me because the whole way I was looking at I was sectioning it in my mind and understanding it, it was completely different than reading it for the first time, second time, third time, or even just reading it normally for a fifth time. It's like the people obviously that are in that area and are they look at it different.
They look at it different. You know, if a person sits down and he tries this, you sit down maybe for 1 hour. And you read the Quran for 1 hour without any interruption. 60 minutes. You do not look left, you do not look right, you do not look up, you do not look down, you don't have no phone, you don't have any computer, nobody's with you. If you read it for 1 hour like that, and I'm just saying 1 hour for a time, you can make it longer, it's no harm. If you do that, then wallahi, by the time you finish, the way you started and the way you ended in that sitting will be different. The way you came when you started off, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. And by the time you read the end, when you stand up, you're going to be very different to when you started, when you began. The Quran, what it does for your heart is something that's not imaginable. It's not normal. The sakina that it has with it, the power that it has with it, the happiness that is accompanied with, the solace, the serenity is not something which a person can ever dream of in this world, and nothing else will grant you that. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَتَطْمَئِنُّ قُلُوبُهُم بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. Only the speech of Allah can give you that.
The Quran in itself is a miracle.
Yes, big miracle.
People say that in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, people would hear the Quran and they would convert
straight away
just by hearing it.
Yeah, they would convert straight away.
And I was thinking about this. I was like, I thought about this for a while. I was like, so when I obviously I couldn't. I've been studying Arabic, so now I'm sort of at a point where I can understand some ayat, so I can understand them. And when I heard that story about people converting, I've got really curious. I was like, so I feel like FOMO. Have you ever heard of FOMO?
No.
FOMO is fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out.
So it's like you feel like you don't know something somebody else knows, or you've not experienced something somebody else has experienced. So, I wanna ask this question.
Yeah.
This feeling or this understanding this miracle, like the linguistic miracle, like the miracle of hearing something and thinking, no, this has to be words of Allah. Is that something that we can like understand if we, for example, in Arabic, or we can get to? Do you know what?
Yeah, for sure. If you want to unlock the miracle of the Quran or the miracles of the Quran, the secrets of the Quran, the Arabic language is definitely going to help you. But it's not a condition, or let's say the Arabic language is not the only key to unlock the miracles of the Quran.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. The people that you're talking about from the early generations, we could argue that they converted to Islam, like you mentioned, or they entered into Islam because they knew the Arabic language. So we could say here, maybe, someone may argue, that they only came into Islam because they understood these words, although they didn't believe in the words. Do you get it?
No.
Okay. They understand the Arabic language, but they don't believe in what the message is.
Okay.
So because they understand what it means, maybe they embrace Islam because they understand what it means. Someone may say this.
Wait, why am I not understanding this?
I don't know.
Wait. So basically,
they speak the language.
They speak, obviously, the Arabic. They speak Arabic.
So they know what it means.
So they know the language. They know the ayat. They understand the meaning of the ayat. So they convert.
Because of that. Someone may argue this.
Yeah.
Someone may argue that they came into Islam because they knew what it means. I'm just trying to show you the miracle of the Quran. My teacher told me a story that took place in the last few years. Yes. It's a famous story. He shared it a few times now. He said that he was on a ship.
All right.
And he was praying salah with a group of brothers. And there was a European man who noticed that they're praying salah, and he looked at them and he was in awe and amazement, and he was just staring, and he waited until they finished. When they finished, he came over and he said, "What are you doing?" And they said, "We're praying salah." Praying? He said, "You're putting your face on the floor. Who are you doing that for?" I don't like to put my face on the floor for anybody. They said, the Shaykh, he said, and the people that were with him, we're not putting our face on the floor for human beings. We're putting our face on the floor for the Lord of the human beings, Allah Rabbul Alameen. So they said about him, the Shaykh, he said that he was wearing headphones and he was listening to music. So the guys, they said, we want to let you listen to music, or we want to offer you music that's better than your music.
Okay.
Referring to
the Quran.
The Quran.
Yeah.
Obviously they're saying music, but it's not music. So he said, okay, let's hear it. So the Shaykh began reading. The Shaykh is narrating the story himself.
Okay, this
first
is
hand.
Yeah.
First hand, he's saying, the guy looked on the floor. And then he said he looked like he was affected. And then when the Shaykh finished, he looked up and he said, "What did you just do?" He said, "I read to you the speech of the one who created you." He said, "I want to become Muslim."
SubhanAllah.
Why am I mentioning this? If somebody comes with the argument that those people came into Islam because they knew the language, this guy doesn't know the language.
Okay, now
if someone comes with the argument that they came into Islam because they're from the early generations, this guy's from the later generations.
No, I understand. So
if someone comes with the argument that this person's from Arabia, this person's from Europe, this Quran, nothing is like it. Nothing is timeless.
Yes.
It affects every single person that comes into contact. But there's a condition. The condition is you must be searching for the truth.
Okay.
If you're searching for the truth, Allah will give you the truth. Allah says, فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. So here it doesn't mean that you can decide to be a disbeliever. Like in that sense, it doesn't mean that. But what it means is Islam is not something that you can deny. You either accept it or you reject it. If you want to reject it because of your arrogance, you want to reject it because of your ignorance, you want to reject it for whatever reason, that's because of you and your reasonings. But you cannot deny it. the laws that are in Islam, the fundamentals of Islam, the pillars of this religion, it's the only thing that makes sense. There's not one thing about Islam that makes no sense. Everything about it makes sense.
There not being any contradiction even in Quran. Allah challenging the reader of the Quran or listener, saying if this wasn't a book, if it wasn't coming from Allah, there would have been a lot of contradictions.
A lot of contradictions. The other ayah, صح?
Exactly.
A lot of contradictions.
And there is none.
There's none. Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, not only yourselves, bring with you the jinn. There's another ayah. The jinn and the ins, all of mankind, all of jinnkind, try to produce something like the Quran. You can never do so. The Quran, it's inimitable. Some of the scholars, they say the 29 chapters of the Quran, the 29 surahs that begin with al-ahruf al-mutaqatta'a, alif, lam, mim, ha, mim, yasin. Yes. What do they mean? They have meanings, but we don't know what it means. No alim now in the world will tell you, alif, lam, mim, it means this. You don't know. Allah knows. That now we can extract many benefits. The first thing is the secrets of the Quran are so many that not everything has been shared with mankind. Some things have been kept with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the first thing. The second thing is, and this is a big one, Alif Lam Mim is to challenge the people at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and by extension all of the Ummah and all of the people. If you're saying the Quran is not from Allah, Alif Lam Mim and these letters are from your language, you bring something like it then. Try to do the same thing. What are you going to do? Say Lam Mim Alif? You can't, right? You can't. This has come like this because it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the same letters that you speak in your language, but you can't produce anything like it, even if you tried to get it.
And there have been people that tried, actually. There's the famous story of Musaylim al-Kadhab. He tried. Failed. You have you heard the even modern versions of people
try to bring Quran? There's a story they mentioned in Pakistan. They said that there was some copies of the Quran that was published on a mass level, and they made a printing error by mistake. And the ayah was from Surah Ali Imran. Allah says, وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِ غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Anybody who desires other than Islam as a religion, it won't be accepted from him, and in the hereafter he's going to be from amongst the losers.
Exactly.
So what did they do? They printed the ayah and they wrote وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا.
Oh, okay. So
opposite.
Okay.
Anyone who desires Islam as a religion, it won't be accepted from him. So they said that this happened by mistake. When this happened by mistake, they produced the masahif and they gave it to all the masajid and the centers. A little child from Pakistan who doesn't even know the Arabic language, they said. Because he memorized it, he looked at the mushaf and he told his ustad, he said, that's wrong.
Yeah.
The ayah is وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا, not وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا. So the ustad said, let me see the mushaf. So the mushaf, the ustad said, yes, true, it's wrong.
Yeah.
But look, what's the point here? The point is, that mistake is one word that you've taken out of the Quran. It wasn't even by purpose, it was by accident. The smallest child will correct it.
That in itself is goes back to the miracle of the preservation of the Quran. Exactly.
Our religion is the only religion in the world where we have millions of people who have memorized the Quran, and the majority of those people who memorize the Quran don't even know the language of the Quran.
That's true.
They're not even Arabic. Which other religion can say we have millions who memorize our book? Some people, they say rather the other ways of life, the other religions, when you find one person that's memorized the book, it becomes their miracle.
Yeah.
This is different.
We have the opposite.
We found one person who memorized this book. That's a miracle. Us, we say with millions, it's a normal standard. Sometimes one household, there are brothers and sisters, siblings, and maybe all of them are hufad. Maybe the dad and the mom are hufad.
It's funny because I've mentioned this to sometimes in a da'wah scene. And when somebody who has never, a non-Muslim who has never heard of the Quran, hears this, because most of the time they ask you, but how do you know the Quran has been preserved? And when we talk about, for example, the Bible not being preserved, or then there being many verses of the Quran, they obviously they'll react and say, well, how do you know the Quran is not preserved? And then you'll start obviously you can talk about how there are so many people that memorize the Quran, and even a small child could correct a mistake, and they'll be like, they find, I've noticed that people find that hard, like, whoa, because it is amazing. It is actually strange,
People try to challenge something when they don't understand it. That's the thing. So are you challenging it because you've genuinely found a fault in it, or are you challenging it because you don't want to accept it? Is it an ego problem? Is it a disease of the heart? Is it you that is ignoring the fact that this is the truth and this is guidance and this is from Allah? Or is it you that you actually found a fault in it and you're mentioning there's no fault in it. It's because you just want to bring a challenge. You just want to challenge. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first challenge he mentions in the Quran is the same issue of the Quran. وَإِن كُنتُم فِي رَيْبٍ مِمَّا نَزَلْنَا عَلَى عَبْدِنَا فِي سُورَةِ الْبَقَرَةِ. This is the first thing. Something that this religion has and no other religion has. The scholars of hadith, they say, is isnad. Isnad means a chain of narration. A student read to a teacher read to his teacher, a teacher read to his teacher, until the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the scholars, they say, al-isnadu min ad-din. Isnad, the chain,
it's a part of the religion.
Part of the religion. They say, وَلَوْلَا الْإِسْنَادُ لَقَالَ مَنْ شَاءَ مَا شَاءَ. If there's no isnad though, anybody could have said what they wanted. So the isnad protects it. As for mutawatir, this kitab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mutawatir from cover to cover. Every single letter in it is mutawatir, let alone every single ayah, every single surah.
Which means, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it means like that so many people have said it was like that.
Exactly.
In such a manner.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Mutawatir means every single person in the chain who passed on this information to the next person, the number must be so much that it's impossible for you to imagine they're all lying. Now, for example, have you ever been to the Antarctica?
Never, no.
Never. But does the Antarctica exist?
I would say yes. I've seen it on each map. I've seen, yeah.
But you've never been there?
I've never been there, no.
You've never seen it with your eyes?
No.
But you believe it exists?
Yeah.
Why? It's mutawatir.
I've had a lot of narrations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's mutawatir.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the definition of mutawatir.
Yeah.
You've heard it so many times.
Exactly.
It must be true. You don't need to see it now.
Yeah.
Well, so some of the scholars, they say, okay, what's the adad? What's the number of people in every single part of the chain in order for it to be mutawatir? Some scholars, they say more than 9. Some say more than 10. Some say more than that.
Yeah.
They differ. But the best definition that the scholars they give is that the number is so big that it's impossible for you to believe all of the narrators are lying. And I'll give you an example. Alhamdulillah, I have a class in the UK.
Yeah.
Where we do Quran. Maybe you've seen it, the Monday class. We have a program.
I've seen it on YouTube, I think.
Yeah. So alhamdulillah, we finished the Quran a few times. We've been doing it for a few years now.
Yeah.
Sometimes when it's really busy, that class, maybe there's close to 1,000 people.
Whoa.
Not all the time, just sometimes.
Yeah.
But there's been times where there's been more than that, in fact. Yeah. Like some of the nights we finish the Quran, complete the whole Quran, the amount of people that come is more. It's a big masjid.
Sorry, do you mean you read it in one night?
No, I thought the people that are there.
Okay.
The number of people that are there.
Okay.
But there's a reason why I'm saying this.
Okay, tell me.
If just me, one person, in the UK, Great Britain, I'm teaching the Quran and 1,000 people transmitted the Quran from me in one night.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
1,000.
Yeah.
This is the religion of Islam. This is mutawatir. How can it not be? This is one person. How many millions and billions of Muslimin are there over the years from Adam? This is what you understand.
You know what's beautiful? There's this, Islam says that Allah took the protection of the Quran on himself, and that the protection of the earlier books, it was the responsibility of the people of the books that they should keep it intact. Then what do we see these days? We see that you have the King James version, you have this version, this version of the Bible.
Yeah.
It's been in my I would say argue it's been changed.
Yeah.
And then we have the Quran, and the claim was made not today or yesterday that the Quran is preserved. The claim has been done a long time ago, 1,400 years ago. So there's a lot of time that claim could have been falsified, you know.
Sure.
But what do we see? SubhanAllah, 1,400 years later, it still stands.
Yeah. Everything about this book, it just shows that it must be true.
Yeah.
Like if you go back to the memorization part again and the preservation, how big is this book? It's over 600 pages. Firstly, let's take a step back. You were talking about secular sciences earlier and Western academia. Who has memorized one book that's over 600 pages, even on a PhD level?
It's not common.
Do you know? I don't have a PhD.
Yeah.
So I don't know that well.
Yeah.
But I've never heard. My brother has a PhD.
Yeah.
My older brother, he has a PhD in chemistry.
Yeah.
And he's a senior doctor. But he hasn't told me this, and I've never heard from anybody. Do you know anybody? Have you ever heard?
I've heard people memorizing like books, like literature, that people do that stuff, but it's definitely not common. It's not a very uncommon thing.
But 600 pages?
600?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I'm sure people memorize books, I'm saying, but do you know anybody who has memorized a book 600 pages?
I haven't met anyone.
When we say they memorize 600 pages, by the way, we need to pick up that book and test you.
Oh yeah, exactly. Obviously,
Like now, if you test the half of the Quran, And he's saying, like the Prophet ﷺ says, لو يعطى الناس بدعواهم لادعى رجال أموال قوم ودماءهم ولكن البينة على المدعي. If everybody makes a claim, then a lot of people will claim everything they wanted to claim. They'll claim people's wealth, people's money, people's blood, right? But the Prophet ﷺ says, the claimant, the proof and the burden of proof is on him.
Yes.
Okay, so right now, you're saying to me, you memorize a 600-page book on literature. I need to test you. I'm going to sit down with you for the next 5 hours, 6 hours, however long it takes. I'm going to have the book here. I want you to read the whole thing without any mistake.
Yeah.
We can bring Huffaz and we can do a podcast now with you here and sit there.
Yeah.
And the whole podcast can be you watching on the camera that they're going to read the whole Quran from Fatiha to An-Nas and they won't make one mistake.
We could literally even... Obviously, people could say it's edited, but it's not edited.
No,
but we could even
we
could do it now, even.
Yeah, well, I'm not that good. But the scholar, the hadith says, "ولكن البينة على المدعي." The burden of proof is on this person. So my point was, firstly, it's unheard of that people memorize books that are that big. Secondly, if it was to be heard, then most likely they won't be able to read the whole thing without mistake.
Yeah.
Thirdly, even if it were to be found, it's going to have to be in their own language. This is not in my language. Like I memorize the Quran, walillahi alhamd. My first language isn't Arabic. My second language is not even Arabic. I memorized it. And there are people like me and other than me who have done it as well. So even here, the miracle is showing you once again the preservation.
Yeah.
A 600... Okay, another question. If the 600-page book is in Arabic, who can memorize a 600-page book in Chinese?
That's very good.
Wallahi, I've been here for 4 days.
Yeah.
I was telling the brothers, I still don't know how to say yes or no or hello in Dutch.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know one word. If I memorize a 600-page book in Dutch, but I don't know any word, I don't know the meaning. That's amazing. Why are the people not accepting that this is amazing over here? This is the most amazing thing. Do you know why? This is Iman. This is religion. This is not going to be opened up for every single person. The arrogant people are not going to accept this. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that, O Messenger, we know that what they are saying and how they are treating you and how they're responding to your message, it makes you sad. They're not rejecting you. They're not denying you, but they have decided to go against our verses. Allah says this. فإنهم لا يكذبونك ولكن الظالمين بآيات الله يجحدون. So this is what it is. They don't want to accept it. You don't want to accept it. You don't want to accept it.
Ustad, we've been talking a while. I have a question for you. For those that don't know you, would you care to introduce yourself, inshallah, for the... What do you do?
Jazakallah khair. Wallahi, I don't like talking about myself.
Okay.
Even if it's like, say your name. I don't like to say anything. And it's not a good thing for a Muslim to make that a practice of his to speak about himself.
Yeah.
But I'm your brother Jamal Abdel Nasser from the UK. Born and bred, raised, nurtured. I've studied there, whether it is early academia, secular sciences in school, college, university.
Yeah.
Islamic sciences, the fundamentals and the foundations, like the memorization of the Quran, the Arabic language.
Yeah.
And yeah.
English bred.
English bred.
MashaAllah. But I've heard that you studied with Sheikh Abdul Rashid al-Sufi. So how do those two things combine?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. That's from one of the greatest virtues of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon me. The greatest fada'il that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed me with. So I've been studying with him over the last 11 years. So more than a decade. And when you look at me, you're saying, you don't look that old.
No, you don't look that old. Yeah.
I started very young though. So when you start very young, 10 years later, you're going to be young because 10 years ago, you were very young. That's a joke.
Yeah, obviously.
So I started like directly after I finished school. When I finished school, I remember the first year that I began studying with the Sheikh, it was the first summer after I finished secondary school.
Yeah.
So until now, I'm with the Sheikh. Even right now, when I travel to this country, I traveled from the Sheikh.
Yeah.
And very soon I'm going to go back.
You travel from, what does that mean? You travel from the Sheikh?
Travel from like being with the Sheikh. I came from Qatar.
So
I didn't come from the UK.
You know, you left the UK.
Right now I'm in between.
You're between.
I'm in between, yeah.
All right,
yeah, I'm in Qatar, UK.
You study with the Sheikh. You study. Are you still studying qira'at?
Yeah. So the Quran. The thing about the Quran is, I completed the qira'at some years back.
All right.
But the Quran, everybody has their own aspiration with the Quran and where they want to be. The Quran is bahrul la sahila lahu. It's an ocean with no shore. It never ends. Like there's so much you can learn about the Quran, and the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. The more you learn, the more you realize you need to learn more. So I'm still learning. I'm still trying to perfect. I'm still trying to get into the craft. I'm still trying to do my research. I'm doing a lot of research now with the qira'at that I learned in terms of the tafsir of it, understanding the different qira'at and how it accommodates the tafsir and how they come together and things like that. So make dua for me, inshallah ta'ala. But yeah, that's me.
That's cool. That what you just said is really interesting. So you not only are you studying the tafsir, you're doing the comparison, like the tafsir from different qira'ah, how that combines.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool. Something that's worth mentioning here, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to benefit from this podcast, is the tafsir of the Quran and the exegesis. In English, they say exegesis, and the ma'na is something which is overlooked. When you look at the Prophet ﷺ's duties that Allah mentions in the Quran that he sent him out with three things when he speaks of revelation. In Al-Baqarah, Surah Al-Baqarah is mentioned twice, Surah Al-Imran is mentioned once, Surah Al-Jumu'ah is mentioned once. Allah says, Surah Al-Baqarah, كما أرسلنا فيكم رسولا منكم يتلو عليكم آياتنا ويزكيكم ويعلمكم الكتاب والحكمة ويعلمكم ما لم تكونوا تعلمون. Before that he says, ربنا وبعث فيهم رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياتك ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة ويزكيهم إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم. سورة آل عمران لقد من الله على المؤمنين إذ بعث فيهم رسولا من أنفسهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين. سورة الجمعة هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين. Three duties. Tilawah, to read the Quran upon the people. For you to teach them the meaning of the Quran and the meaning of the Sunnah and the Ahadith, because they are both revelation, and the Muslimin, they accept both of them.
That's the hikmah, right?
That's the hikmah.
Exactly.
And وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ, for them to be purified. Tazkiyah. So these three things. Now the ma'na and the exegesis is something that a lot of people, they overlook nowadays. And they are aspiring to from Ahlul Quran, but Ahlul Quran requires from you to have a lot of credentials.
All right.
Not just memorizing the words.
Memorizing.
Yeah, not memorizing the Quran. Memorizing the words, understanding the words, implementing the words, living by the words, acting by the words, beautifying. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. If we say Quran, Bahrul la sahila lahu, is an ocean with no shore, why have you taken just one cup of this water in this ocean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to go for a swim, a deep dive. You have to go all the way down and come out and go all around the ocean to understand what it is.
How does the understanding the meaning, the tafsir behind the ayat, change the way you look at the Quran?
It changes the whole perspective, because when you understand the tafsir, it's a message directly to you, understanding every ayah what it means. That's one way to help you. Another way to help you, say, well, for example, you're doing your hifth for the brothers and sisters who are memorizing Quran, revising Quran. When you know the meaning, and you can't remember the ayah, because you knew the meaning, you can pick up the word.
Yeah, I get that with studying grammar.
Yeah, grammar.
So when you study nahu, like the Arabic grammar, even though, okay, then I don't know perhaps I don't know the tafsir, but I still know how the sentence is supposed to end, you know?
The haraka, of the last word.
It's so true. That the meaning will even make it easier.
100%.
Knowing that too.
It will open up for you big time. It's beautiful when you do everything the right way, and you do how the Sahaba. This is the method of the Sahaba. The Sahaba, it's said about them that they would memorize 10 verses of the Quran. They would understand the 10 verses, then they would implement it, then they would move on. That's why some of them, after they memorized Surah Al-Baqarah, they would throw a big party.
Oh, yeah.
Like some of the Sahaba, it's reported 9 years he was learning Surah Al-Baqarah.
Yeah.
Another one 10 years, another one 14 years, Surah Al-Baqarah only. Why? Because he was following a method that was known by the Sahaba. 10 verses, memorize, understand, implement. Stop. Then 10 verses, memorize, implement, understand, and do that. So obviously, if you're going to do that, it's going to take a long time.
It's going to take a long time.
So how will they throw a party? They're not like us. They were different. They will sacrifice an animal.
Oh, yeah, just like food.
Yeah, they'll do dhabiha. And that's it. So that's how it was. And they used to show the family, and they used to show the Sahaba, and they used to show the people around them, everybody who's living at that time, that the Quran to them is something which is azim.
Yeah.
And this is something I want to mention, inshallah ta'ala, before we move on from this point, that one of the first steps to unlocking the Quran is ta'zeemul Quran in your heart. If the ta'zeem, meaning if the veneration of the Quran and you glorifying the speech of Allah enters into your heart, abshir, glad tidings to you, very soon you're going to memorize the Quran, inshallah ta'ala. Some of the Sahaba, they were like this. There was a Sahabi by the name of Ikrimah ibn Abi Jahl. Abu Jahl, he died upon kufr. But his son Ikrimah, not only was he a mu'min, but Ikrimah, he would pick up the mushaf. He would kiss the mushaf and he would say, Kitabu Rabbi, Kitabu Rabbi. The speech of my Lord, the book of my Lord, the book of my Lord, he would say.
He had lots of respect and admiration for the Quran.
Yeah. Khalid ibn al-Walid, he was a commander.
Yeah.
Khalid ibn al-Walid was known for his jihad. Khalid ibn al-Walid, he would pick up the Quran at times and he would say, Shaghalani anka al-jihad. I want to spend time with Quran with you. I want to spend time with the Quran. But the jihad made me busy. But I want to be real with the Quran. That's what he was.
You see in their acts, by them picking up, them respecting it, their love, they're looking for that, like like to be reunited with the Quran.
Exactly,
again,
exactly.
Reunification.
How does it come? The admiration.
Yeah. How does it look like? Exactly. How does it look like, and how does it come?
Yeah. The scholars, they have a qaida. They say, "Man arafa ma yatlub, hana alayhi ma yabdhul." If you know the value of what you seek, you're going to seek it.
Yeah.
How does admiration come? Before you start the Quran, learn about what the Quran is. Yeah. There's a statement that I always say in the UK, has helped some of the students there. I say, try to appreciate the Quran as a concept before you study it as a subject. Memorizing as a subject, if you want to explain it like that, we can and say it's a subject.
Yeah.
Tafsir is a subject.
Yeah.
Qira'at is a subject. All these things are subjects.
Sure.
Okay, let's appreciate the Quran as a concept first. Concept. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave us this speech. It is 600 pages long, and it is from Him subhanahu wa ta'ala as a divine message to us. It is a light for us in this world and in the next. It is a light that will guide us to paradise. This Quran will be the only thing that intercedes for us Yawm al-Qiyamah, when there's nobody else or nothing else to help us. No parents, no family, no friends. Nobody can help us, like the Quran mentions, except the Quran al-Kareem. The Quran, it is what is going to give you the greatest honor on that day. No other credentials are known. No other certificates are known. No other backgrounds are going to be given any importance. But if you come from the background of the Quran, and you have the certification of the Quran, so to speak, and you have the qualifications of the Quran, so to speak, Yawm al-Qiyamah, you have a high manzila in Allah Azza wa Jalla, a high station. So when a person understands it like this, he says, okay, I have to learn it now. I don't have a choice. I don't want to be missing out.
Yeah. He's getting that FOMO.
But like I said in another podcast recently as well, a person will say this, and this is very important. They'll say, if I memorize the Quran, how am I going to pay the bills? If I memorize the Quran, how am I going to buy a house in London?
Yeah.
How can I buy a house? We can't even buy a house with mortgage, and it's so expensive to buy a house. Mortgage is haram. Can the Quran help me buy a house? And we say, look, the majority of the people who graduated from universities or have businesses, they don't have, some do, but the majority of them don't have houses anyway. What's the point?
Yeah.
The shaitan is telling you, if you memorize the Quran, you can't do it. We're saying, okay, if you leave the Quran and you go the way you want to go, how many people over there actually have houses in their name that they bought with cash, no mortgage, not from the bank, and they went to university and they did that? Then you find one or two. If we find one or two, we can find one or two who did it here as well.
Of course,
the mas'ala, the issue is only a trick and a game of the shaitan. The faster a person knows the shaitan is playing games on him, the faster he will learn the Quran, inshaAllah ta'ala.
The way I know Duksi when I was young, it was not like that. It was like you get put in a Duksi, and I remember me as being Duksi, memorizing the Quran as a kid, not having that background, that the knowing the Quran as a
concept,
exactly. So it was just like, I don't want to say just words. You can't say that, obviously, but I mean, like, it didn't have that. It didn't have that connection. The connection.
Yeah.
There was no connection. So obviously, building that connection, getting that
takes time.
Getting that, instilling that.
For adults, I give advice for adults and I give advice for children.
All right.
Adults, I give the advice for Uthman ibn Affan from the Sahaba. He says, if only your hearts or our hearts were to be pure, we would never be satisfied from Allah's speech. So if you want to have that connection with the Quran, or if you want to have connection with any act of worship, salah, dua, Quran, whatever it is, then you need to purify your soul as much as possible. Purify your soul by doing two things. The first thing is taking out all of the diseases of the heart.
Yeah.
A person has many diseases of the heart, many sins that have accumulated, and many different traits that they have that are not pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He removes it from his heart. He purifies it from his heart. And then he beautifies his heart with the beautiful things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us in this religion. When you do this, inshaAllah ta'ala, and the heart is now ready for the Quran, the heart will accept the Quran, it will enter. That's for the adult. But for the children, like we went through that stage when we were growing up, I think the best way is for us to teach them, and this helps with the adults too, for us to teach them the virtues of the Quran.
All right.
And we do this for every single act of worship. For example, if there's a young girl, she wants to start wearing hijab.
Yeah.
It's our sister, our daughter, our niece. An easy way is for you to say, wear the hijab. Hijab's wajib. Okay, will she wear it? Yeah, because you're her father, you're her mother, you're her older brother, older sister, so she'll listen to you. But what's going to happen when she gets older and she doesn't want to listen to you anymore?
Yeah.
Now she's a child.
Yeah.
She's a child now, so now you have the say.
Oh, yeah,
but after she's going to say, no, I don't want to listen to you anymore.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm an adult.
So somebody came to the Prophet ﷺ and he was like, he said, I don't know how it started, but he said, I want to do zina, I think it started with that. It's like a famous story.
Yeah.
And then what did the Prophet do? He started getting him with logical points, you know? He started getting it. He started making him understand it. He's not like saying it's haram or it's this or that. He was like trying to make it. He was trying to make it sense for him.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
When you have that kid, you're trying to explain the virtues, the benefits.
Yeah.
You're trying to make it make sense.
Exactly.
For the kid.
Exactly. That's the most beautiful way to do it. So if I tell her instead, wear the hijab because you are a Muslimah and you have beauty and Allah made you more beautiful than everybody else.
Yeah.
Like this is not made up. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks to the believing females in the Quran, he says this. Like when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks to Maryam in the Quran, he says, وَاصْطَفَاكِ عَلَى نِسَاءِ الْعَالَمِينَ. Allah selected you and chosen you, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He preferred you over all of the other women of the world. So the Muslim lady is different. So we tell her this, and we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you a place where you can show your beauty later. This is paradise. So right now you wear the hijab. If you do this from a young age, most likely she's going to grow up loving the hijab, wearing the hijab, conforming with the hijab. But if you say wear the hijab, pray the salah, get up for fajr.
Yeah.
In this way, it doesn't bring a lot of love and appreciation for the child.
Would you combine it with memorization though?
Yeah, absolutely the same thing.
You would?
Yeah, for sure. I will try to make this child love the Quran. And it's very easy for us. I think it's easy. For example, we see the children now in the West. A lot of us, maybe when we were growing up, maybe we had this as well. A lot of people, they fell for the road of music. Why? They appreciate it. They like how it sounds. So maybe from a young age now, we need to start with these children before they become impurified or they become diseased and influenced by music and the like. We try introducing them to different recitations and beautiful recitations. That's so nice. I love that. I remember there was a nasheed. It was kind of a nasheed, I guess, that I used to listen to growing up. I can't remember what it's called now, but I just remember I used to love it so much. Because I used to go to school. I used to go to Dami school, secondary school. It's called Tawheed. I used to go there. And the admin in the office used to always have it playing. So when I'd go to the office, I would hear it. Yeah. So I remember eventually I went to him and said, what is it called? He said, I'll bring it to you as a gift. He gave me the CD. I took it home. My mom bought me a radio times. And we used to put it in and play it all the time. So this is my own experience. I remember if something's appealing to you, alhamdulillah, that was a nasheed. Quran will be better than nasheed for sure, but nasheed is better than music. So that was a nasheed. Imagine if that was music.
Yeah,
I would have wanted that because I like how it sounds. So the children, we have to find nice reciters and just maybe play games with them, activities. Do you like this reciter? Do you like this one? What about this one? Here's a high pitch, here's a low pitch. Which one do you prefer? When you do that, like they do in schools for them, in the schools, the children are given a lot of flexibility, a lot of space to think. They're given this. We don't really do that. We just tell them what to do. But we want to discuss with them. What do you think about this reciter? Do you like him?
You get actually opinion. True. What really works for this new generation? They want to feel. What's that called? Like interactive. It needs to be interactive.
Everybody does, even adults. Okay. People prefer to have a conversation. They don't prefer to just have a like an interview or something. People just talking one way. That's conversation.
You just mentioned we were just talking about music, and there's this. I heard this saying that it's very hard for a person to get music and Quran to combine those two things,
Yeah.
So are they like opposites? How does that work?
It's a statement of many scholars of the past, and the most famous statement is by the great scholar Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah. He says that music and Quran cannot reside in the same heart. Someone may say, okay, I know people who listen to music and they pray Salah. They know Fatiha, they know Surah An-Nas, they know Falaq. Surah An-Nas and Falaq and Fatiha is Quran. And he has his headphones every day listening to music.
Yeah.
So he has both. It doesn't mean that. It means that your heart is going to go and follow one of those two things. It's very easy. You can listen to music and listen to Quran 1 hour later, Quran 1 hour after. Yeah. It doesn't mean that. It means you can't be attracted to both of them at the same time. You're going to end up letting go of one.
Sure.
And the scary thing is that you're going to end up letting go of the Quran.
Yeah.
And you're going to go towards the music. That's a scary thing. And if Allah guides you, then you're going to go to the Quran and let go of the music. So it's better to start to try and find a replacement. And the advice for the people who may have bad addictions to music is, even those people, they're not attracted to every type of music. They're attracted to certain type of music, certain artists, certain songs. However it works, I'm not sure how it works. So it shows you this is a psychological thing. I like how this sounds, or I like the meaning of what he's saying, or I like that person. All you have to do now is to find the reciter you like, find the meaning, surahs that meaning that reaches your heart, and have appreciation for your Lord, just like you have appreciation for this artist. If you do that, the Quran is going to be that which you.
You know, to be honest, I have never seen that somebody leaves music and his iman didn't go up or something. What I've always seen is somebody leaves music, listening to music, and what happens? He just listens to Quran every day, or he just start listening to like lectures, like positive alternatives. You know,
it's like the guy I mentioned who listened to music right there, and the sheikh, he said, "Let me show you." They don't know. They don't know. That's it. The people are unaware. SubhanAllah. Ignorance is a bad thing. It's a huge thing and a bad thing.
I heard you say something that your teachers had lots of impact on you.
Yeah.
So the teacher obviously has a role in conveying the love of the Quran, or the way we just look at the Quran. How did you could you share something from what your teachers did that inspired you perhaps? Is there something like...
So alhamdulillah, all praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost. When I speak about my teachers, I'm speaking about all of them, by the way.
Yeah, okay.
For sure, there are some that helped me more than others. There are some that impacted me greater than others, for sure. But every single one of them has been, credit is due to them, has been amazing and has impacted me in the right way. Like if I speak about my first teacher, I try to speak about him as much as possible. Sheikh Abdul Qadir Hassan. He was my muhaffid, the one who I memorized the Quran under. So like growing up, I didn't understand, but I appreciate it now. He used to live in the masjid. Okay. The masjid that we were from, that I memorized the Quran in, at that time, it had 1,000 students enrolled, 1,000. And it had 100 huffaz that it produced. So 1/10 of their students are huffaz.
Wow.
Some people used to even make a joke at that time. They used to say, if there's one masjid, if memorizing the Quran is fardu kifaya, a communal obligation, this masjid have taken the burden.
Oh, it's in London?
It's in London, yeah.
Whoa.
The quality isn't the same as it was that time. But that time, that's how it was. So this teacher, he had one of the biggest footfalls in this year, and he used to have a lot of the students of Hifth. He was a main teacher for that. And because he lived in the masjid, he used to invite us to come every single day. So our parents would pay for us to go for the classes that we were enrolled for, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they pay the fees for that. But because he lives in the masjid, he would tell me, you can come the other days as well for free. So I would go every single day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, I would go after school. Saturday, Sunday, I would go the whole day. It was weekend. Saturday, Sunday, I would go from Fajr and stay there until the end of the day. I would have breakfast with him, lunch with him, dinner with him, sit with him.
So you're friends?
Basically. Yeah. Now you said that, let me just say one thing here. And I hope this is going to be of advice to all the people who are listening, and it's going to be of insight as well. I was a child that time. But with the adults that are learning the Quran, because I'm sure children won't really listen to this, will be adults. When you develop a relationship with your teacher, there's two ways that you can look at it. Two ways. If you have a personal relationship with a teacher, some people are going to feel gifted and favored, and they're going to feel honored that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, is the one who blessed them with this, that the person that's teaching them the Quran is a person who cares about them, is a person that wishes to help them, a person that's doing all of this without muqabil. Muqabil means without something in return. Because the person, he loves the muhsin. He loves the person that does good to him. But the muhsin is of two types. The one that does good to you, but he wants good back. I give you money today because you're going to give it to me tomorrow. I'm going to pay for your meal today. Next time you pay for me. Okay, that's just you doing me a favor. But the person who's always doing good and he doesn't want anything back, these people, there's a way of looking at them. So the first way is, I feel very favored. I feel very special. I feel that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to open up things. Because Allah says, the Prophet says, "Man yuridillahu bi khairin yufaqihu fi din." The one who Allah wants good for, He opens up understanding of the religion for him. It's a ni'mah. MashaAllah, look at the Shaykh's humility. SubhanAllah, he's very humble. He's talking with me. I'm his student. He's eating with me. He's spending time. That's how one person looks at it. Another person, what does he do? He takes advantage of that. So in the beginning is okay. And then after that he says, I don't know, like, I think we're crossing boundaries. I think he's crossing lines. And you're thinking, crossing what lines? The teacher's only trying to be, he's only helping you. He's saying he's crossing lines. Crossing lines, what's he trying to do? Like manipulate you or something? He's only trying to help you come close to Allah. You're in each other's lives for a period of time and that's it. And when you really think about it, it's only the shaitan. What triggered this? Nothing triggered it. Did he ever do anything bad towards you directly? Did he ever like drill you? No, he didn't. The only thing he ever did is help you. So the shaitan here, and the scholars, they say that same hadith that I just mentioned, "Man yuridillahu bi khayran yufaqihu fi din," it has a mantuq and a mafhum. Mantuq is what has been uttered. That if Allah wants good for you, He gives you understanding of the religion. Mafhum is the inference and the understanding, which is, if Allah doesn't want good for you, He won't give you understanding. So the people here, if they have this type of attitude, mostly they fall off the Quran anyway. They don't go that way. One of the biggest ni'am of this world is for a person to be given a person who knows the Quran and lives by the Quran and passes on the Quran to those people. You said to me earlier, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took it upon Himself to preserve this Quran. The ulama, they say, Allah Jalla wa ala took it upon Himself to preserve the Quran ultimately, but He did it through the hafadha of the Quran, the hamala of the Quran. So Allah Jalla wa ala selected the people who are going to learn the Quran, and these are the vessels on the earth of Allah who are preserving the Quran. Allah does it ultimately, but through these people. So these people are the people that now we are showing this bad character to. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Inna min ijlalillahi ta'ala ikramu hamil al-Quran." Indeed, honoring Allah, it lies in honoring the people of the Quran. So when you come with this attitude and this ill behavior, it's only harming you. You're not going to reach them in rank because Allah Jalla wa ala gave them the Quran over you. Allah gave them something He didn't give you. So firstly, they are ahead of you.
Respect.
That requires respect. That's mind-blowing. The fact that, who am I in the first place? I don't even know anything. I'm dealing with a hamil of Quran. There are reports that some of the scholars, they authenticate. The one who memorized the Quran, he has prophecy on his shoulders. SubhanAllah. What does that mean? He's not a prophet. Because the aqeedah of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam is the final prophet. But he has prophecy, meaning the revelation that made Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam a prophet is what he has as well. He has this common factor with Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. You have some common factors with Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, but this is one common factor that you don't have, and he has the greatest common factor, which is the Quran. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam had the Quran in his heart. He has the Quran in his heart. Let us not mess about with these people.
I've heard even if somebody only knows Surah Baqarah, that would have been something to be respected. Like I heard this hadith, like something. Remember Surah Baqarah? Jadd fina. He's like respected.
No, at the time of the Sahaba, they used to refer to the people who memorize Surah Al-Baqarah. They say, "Ya ashab Surah Al-Baqarah." Oh, companions of Surah Al-Baqarah. Something ma'ruf. It was known. It was a big deal. They used to respect and honor the people of the Quran on a different level. Now, if two people walk into a room, one is memorized the Quran and one is a PhD graduate. Again, no one's saying the PhD graduate is a bad person. But everybody, where's a PhD graduate? Where is he? Where is he? The Hafiz, I'll see you later. Hey, Hafiz. The dunya, everything seems confusing. But the quicker a person understands that in the akhirah, everything will be clear, the better it will be for him. The akhirah, Allah will make it. You're not going to be given any type of recognition if you have any worldly thing. So long, the only condition is the worldly thing helped you reach your religious objective. But if it helped you reach a worldly objective, it won't even be brought up on the Day of Judgment. But the Quran is literally the only thing that you have on the Day of Judgment that's going to give you salvation. The way you know a person of the Quran, I was mentioning this in all the talks recently, is not because he has a beautiful voice. So the Prophet ﷺ, he says, there are people who read the Quran, he doesn't pass their collarbone. Wal-'iyadhu billah. Wal-'iyadhu billah. And they read the Quran so beautifully. People have completely misunderstood what Ahlul Quran, how you qualify to be Ahlul Quran. Ahlul Quran means when people are observing you and they see you, they can tell you're different from everybody straight away. You're not making yourself different. But Allah Jalla wa ala bless you the same way He bless you with His kitab, He bless you with sifat. You have sifat and characteristics that are different from everybody else. And that qualifies you to be from Ahlul Quran. The way you act, the way you interact, the way you deal with people, the way you look at people, the way you say, the way you respond. All of these things, they show who's Ahlul Quran and who's not. Not mujarrad tilawa. Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyya, he says that the one who has understood the Quran, the one who implements the Quran, he's from the people of the Quran, even if he hasn't memorized it. You don't have to memorize it to be a person of the Quran.
You don't have to memorize the Quran to be from the people of the Quran?
No. Rather, he says, as for the one who memorized it, and he hasn't understood it, and he doesn't implement it, even if he reads it with tajweed, he's not from the people of the Quran. He said it straight up. He's not.
SubhanAllah. You know, Ustad, that this subject of Quran, it's something that's really, I hold very deep, and I can see you as well. It's a very beautiful. We could like talk for probably like hours and hours. But I would love to end the podcast with the recitation, inshallah, if you would like that.
Barakallah feek, inshallah.
Inshallah, then let's go for it. Let's do an ayah that you hold deeply, inshallah.
Inshallah. Or an ayah. You honored me by inviting me to your podcast, and I want to honor you, inshallah ta'ala, and your team by reading an ayah that's close to you.
Oh,
this one is for you, like they say.
Oh, subhanallah. This ayah in Surah Ghafir, and it's in the beginning of Surah Ghafir, and it's somewhere. It talks about the angels in the beginning.
You don't know the ayah though.
I don't know. I know it's like in the first page.
Yeah. The ones who are carrying the arsh.
Exactly. If you can read that one.
We'll read the beginning of the surah then, inshallah ta'ala. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم حميم تنزيل الكتاب من الله العزيز العليم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب شديد العقاب ذي الطول لا إله إلا هو إليه المصير ما يجادل في آيات الله إلا الذين كفروا فلا يغررك تقلبهم في البلاد كذبت قبلهم قوم نوح والأحزاب من بعدهم وهمت كل أمة برسولهم ليأخذوه وجادلوا بالباطل ليدحضوا به الحق فأخذتهم فكيف كان عقاب وكذلك حقت كلمة ربك على الذين كفروا أنهم أصحاب النير الذين يحملون العرش ومن حوله يسبحون بحمد ربهم ويؤمنون به ويستغفرون للذين آمنوا ربنا وسعت كل شيء رحمة وعلما فاغفر للذين تابوا واتبعوا سبيلك وقهم عذاب الجحيم ربنا وأدخلهم جنات عدن التي وعدتهم ومن صلح من آبائهم وأزواجهم وذرياتهم إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم وقهم السيئات ومن تق السيئات يومئذ فقد رحمته وذلك هو الفوز العظيم.
جزاكم الله خير. جزاكم الله خير أستاذ جمال. Inshallah, I hope this we can do a part 2 inshallah very soon.
جزاكم الله خير. Thank you for having me. Barakallahu feekum. Jazakum Allah khairan to you and to your entire team. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless your work and your project. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this one of the leading podcasts alamiyan on the world, on the face of the earth, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow it to reach many corners of the world and place a lot of barakah therein and make it a means of people to draw nearer to their Lord and to gain insight about this religion of Islam. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all sincere in our efforts in passing on this religion, whether it is through this means or other means. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to unite us in a better place in the dunya and also in the akhirah. Barakallahu feekum. Wa iyyakum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.